Zdravo, Tung. Welcome to Dialogue Corner, a podcast hosted and produced by a group of young women from Belgrade and Prishtina, alumni of the OSCE Dialogue Academy. In our podcast, we will try to bring different guests, such as prominent members of Serbian and Albanian societies and members of the international community, in order to share interesting stories and thoughtful insights. Also, we aspire to introduce our network to a larger audience and to create a community based on values of dialogue and gender equality, as well as share them not only with Albanian and Serbian communities, but throughout the entire region.
Hello, everybody. You're listening Dialogue Corner podcast. My name is Katarina Cukovic, and today's topic will be the state of women's rights in Europe. We will reflect on main events in trends in Europe regarding the women's rights, and we will try to capture what is that define this year when it comes to the strengthening and generally the trends concerning the women's rights. Our guest today is Jovana Simic. Jovana is a political scientist. She studied international relations at the Central European University in Budapest and is currently doing her second master's in humanitarian law and human rights law. So welcome, Jovana, and thank you for being our guest today.
Thanks, Katja. Hi to you and to everyone listening. I'm glad that you found that I was a suitable person to talk about this topic. So I'm very excited to be here tonight.
Yes, you are a perfect guest for this topic. And before we start, I like to always begin my episodes by asking my guests why did they become passionate about these topics. So can you tell me what was that triggered you to start researching more on these topics that we are going to discuss today?
Well, thank you. And besides from being a woman, I believe that the precondition to enjoying everything that we can have in life and enjoying all the beautiful things we have, we firstly need to be free. And I believe that is a kind of a fight that never ends, and that always needs to be talked about a little more, expanded a little more, and I find that to be something that is constitutional to our everyday life and to all our human interactions. I don't want to get too philosophical, though, but I think it's a very important topic, not only for me as a woman, but for the whole society, because we can map out definitely certain things that need improvement and that need to be put out in the spotlight.
Yes, and when you mentioned this mapping, I think it will be great that we start this episode by focusing on what is happening in Europe currently in terms of women's rights. So every year, European Institute for Gender Equality publishes Gender Equality Index. And this year review is titled Fragile Gains and Big Losses, meaning that it's capturing that actually this year didn't went that well in terms of gender equality and generally women's rights. And it was mentioned that this COVID pandemic really caused these big losses in terms that there was that pandemic not only exposed gender divisions in the job market, but it also showed that women are doing more this unpaid labor, and it's also unfortunately report didn't capture the numbers when it comes to domestic violence, but it's supposed that it increased because of lockdown and generally that whole situation that people had to stay indoors. But what's also interesting from this report, that it's actually showing that we have this group of countries, for example, like Denmark, Sweden, Netherlands, standardly doing really well and being at the top of the list, while countries in our region, Greece, Hungary, Romania, Croatia, and if I think I mentioned all of them that are standardly at the bottom of the list. Only maybe Slovenia, it's like having this European standard. So I wanted to ask, according to you, is there any like event or situation that you would say that has strong impact on you when it comes to this gender equality? And do you think that this situation in our regions is actually showing us that we are far above these European standards?
Yeah, thank you. I have had the chance to skim through this new report, and yes, it shows that our bordering EU countries are not doing very well. Besides Slovenia, and I feel it's kind of I kind of feel that that's a normal in our region, but I feel that the situation is improving. What I find the most troubling, definitely in the context of EU, is the trends in those, how to say, rogue states in terms of women's rights, which are Hungary and Poland. Definitely Poland when it comes to their restrictive regulation of abortion, and then also Hungary with their expressed wishes to withdraw from the Istanbul Convention, which I feel it's very, very much below the EU standard and needs to be addressed in some way by the EU if they wish to continue having one region policy and to be on the same level when speaking about those questions. But we can also see that a lot of states in the EU have not yet ratified the Istanbul Convention, so that's something that's going to be still seen in the following years. And then in the context of our region, which I believe it's more important, we definitely have seen some kind of progress in grassroots women's movements like Balkans Me Too, and movements which were addressing the abuse from different institutions and different notable people in our region. But I believe we're going to get to that a bit later.
Yes, exactly. So as you mentioned Poland, I would like to stay a little bit more and discuss this situation in Poland, because it's really alarming, and it's really like pointing out and it's really like reminder that for women everywhere that their rights should not be taken for granted. So according to you, what is the most alarming situation now when it comes to Poland? And also you mentioned Hungary, that all women should be concerned.
Yeah, I actually wrote something about that last year when the Constitutional Court in Poland ruled the law regarding abortion unconstitutional when it comes to fetus defects. So yeah, we should definitely, I mean, the women of Poland are angry, and they have all the right to be angry. And then all the women which are living all across the world should be concerned, because this is a trend that we see not only this year, but maybe in the past 6 or 7 years, definitely invoking this big argument that by abortion, by I don't know, same-sex marriages, same-sex partnerships, same-sex adoptions, the traditional family would be destroyed. And this is definitely the main argument which I can map out in the Polish case. And I feel that it's troubling as a secular state. Definitely, Poland should be more thoughtful about their citizens' rights, and as a new state and as a state which is a signee on a lot of international contracts that guarantee basic human rights, they should be definitely concerned right now when there is a big threat to violating the right to life by these provisions of the law. So I figured that now they are a little panicked because of the recent case when a pregnant woman died because her fetus was ill and she died of septic shock. So they are now urging to actually make more detailed instructions for the doctors when they are performing abortion or when they are deciding whether to perform abortion on women. This is one good drop in a glass of terrible things that are happening in Poland. And not only that, but it actually causes a lot more problematic things that Poland will need to deal with at some point. Not only illness, death of a woman, but also moral stance of the doctors, their fear to violate the law. Which can lead to more accidents like this. And also the other thing, which is more of a financial matter, is that Polish women go abroad to have abortions, but not all of them can access that service, mainly because of funds, and that will definitely affect the lowest. Economically lowest parts of the population, which are probably not aware, or if they are aware, they cannot access the service. So the state, which has caused that, will probably need to take care of it at some point. We had a problem in Ireland. Ireland loosened their regulations, and this will be something that spills over to European Union. So it will need to be settled at some point because women are now traveling to Belgium and other countries to have abortion, and their healthcare systems will need to support that in some way. And I really do hope that the EU will have a little more sharper teeth for this question, which is actually a fundamental human rights question. It's not just about women, but it's about basic human rights that every citizen should have. That's all. Yeah.
For me, this case of Poland was also quite interesting to look at this from perspective of EU member state relations, because currently, as we can see, Poland is actually doing everything opposite of its EU values. And I was also reading some articles where Polish women activists were saying, we don't need any more declarations for parliament or of commission. We really need some actions that is going to tell to government that you cannot do this, you're breaking the law, and we want some sanctions when it comes to this. So that's one case, and also it's pointing out, as you mentioned, that there is no harmonization of law, and it's really on EU level. So it's really like depending on what will your state do and how will they react. So let's hope EU will somehow give positive example on how to deal with this, because otherwise it's also pointing to the whole credibility of the European Union as a system, which is
I mean, in general, EU member states can decide on themselves how to regulate abortion laws, but what I feel this is really a fundamental question of human rights, and the EU has mechanisms to respond to violations of human rights. But now I feel that it's coming down to a little more a political question and a question of political calculations, because there are many burning problems in the EU. There are now migrations that need to be stopped in some way on the Polish border. There are so many things that require careful handling of the situation. And now I feel that maybe this current situation in Poland will be a little put aside until more important issues are solved. I noticed that when it comes to similar questions, there is a lot of relativization, and people tend to say, oh yes, well, but we have also world hunger, and we also have, I don't know, a lot of people don't have access to sanitary systems and stuff like that. But I don't think we as a society, as citizens, should not just prioritize. We should prioritize some questions, but we should never just disregard the questions of human rights when it comes to these situations, which can result in seriously harming some people and a lot of lives.
Yes, exactly. And when it comes to this Central Europe, let's say Poland, Hungary, this thing that happened in Poland, it didn't come like yesterday. It didn't show up just, now we have this situation. It's actually, it started from the 90s, when the country started claiming that they reached this freedom by entering EU and so on. But slowly, also with the influence of Catholic Church and really far-right governments, it started deteriorating, and I hope it will not be too late to react. But on the other hand, in our region, we have some positive trends, finally, and that happened with this Me Too movement that started in Serbia. So for those listeners outside of Serbia that don't know, one young actress accused the famous acting teacher for raping, and that had one spillover effect in the whole country, where more and more girls stood up and started talking about their negative experiences or harassment that they unfortunately experience, and that started to be like regional. So not only in Serbia, but you had examples in Croatia, then Bosnia, and also I think there were some examples in Kosovo. So why was this important to happen?
Yeah, well, I believe this particular case was important because it represented a breach into elite institutions that we only suppose what's going on in there, and maybe we, the regulars, look at it as some kind of a high quality, highly moral places where a lot of good, performers or students or whatever come from. So even though this has not given maybe a reason for regular or maybe not that highly educated women to speak up. This has definitely demystified a part of the society that we have looked upon for not many years, but for a long time in our society. These groups of people have been very highly regarded and regarded as some people who are living their dream lives because they are very nice looking, very talented, very popular and stuff. And I actually watched an interview with Milena Radulovic, and she said basically that I was that princess and I wanted to show people that it can also happen to us and that it can also happen to any person in the world, because it's not a question of status, it's a question of abuse of power that can happen on any level, in any country, in any institution, on the street, and in high schools and universities. So I think that's very important. And then we should not forget also that we had the case of Marija Lukic, who reported abuse from the mayor of a small town in Serbia, and this is perhaps that part that is a nightmare of a regular woman. What will the small community I live in think about me? How will I beat that powerful man in court? So we have definitely covered a wide, how to say, audience who should be informed and maybe encouraged to fight for themselves. And what I also wanted to highlight here is that 2021 definitely brought many cases and many organizations in different who combat violence against women in different ways. So there were also boards in faculties that accepted complaints from students. So University of Zagreb, they suspended 2 professors. I think also we had a Facebook group from Sarajevo, I didn't ask for it, which mobilized tens of thousands of women, which shared their confessions and maybe let them, they had some kind of a safe space to talk about their experiences. Some of them reported it, some of them just disregarded it to be able to continue their normal life. And now we are able to say to all of them that they are not alone and that they have someone to talk to. And if they are not very confident, if their institutions will not protect them, they have some kind of civil community that will stand by them. And also 2 important topics also arose from this. One was revealing chat groups on Telegram, which were sharing revenge porn, child pornography, just different pictures and videos of women who have not given consent to appear there. They were discovered by a girl who's now studying at the Faculty of Political Sciences in Belgrade, and some of them were brought to justice. But there is a huge number of these groups on social media and chatting platforms. So I believe that the fight has just begun in this area. And also the last thing is when we started talking about violence against women in institutions, we also had a story by a journalist and influencer who talked about being harassed while giving childbirth in Belgrade. She was she was, she was assaulted, harassed by an anesthesiologist who is deemed to be very, very good, very professional. Everyone wants to get him for their delivery, and it appeared that hundreds and hundreds of women had the same problem, but they were just quiet because they wanted it to end. And this is also some kind of an elite institution that no one dares talk about because they deliver babies. I mean, they're someone that needs to be as good as possible to you, that needs to, make sure that your baby is healthy, and those people are just abusing their power in most of the situations. So that is a very positive trend. I don't see a good. I don't see that much of a good response from institutions. We have had now the Ministry of Human Rights, but I don't see that they are maybe committed or passionate enough to talk so much about these topics and to maybe solve it institutionally. But I am very hopeful about so many people being drawn into this conversation, so many women, so many influencers, so many people that we look up to who are now highlighting the problems, who are helping others, who are creating safe spaces. And I think that's very good for the whole Balkan region to just wake up a little.
Yes, exactly. And to conclude our episode, having in mind the situation in Poland and the situation in our region, what would you say are some future trends in terms of women's rights? It can also be just for our region or for Europe.
For our region, I think that we are finally bringing out some topics that have been trending in Europe in the past years, like changing our language to being more appropriate for addressing females and female occupations. That's very interesting that we finally have that up-to-date connection to what's trending in the world. But I think that there is a trend of growing nationalism, not only nationalism, but just like traditionalism in our countries and in Europe, which will take a lot of strength and a lot of courage to combat and to make sure that we don't deteriorate the rights that we have achieved so far, and that we can only go forward. But I'm hopeful, and these events of 2021 and 2020, when we were locked in our houses, when we had, more important problems than female rights, like the pandemic, like the economic issues, economic uncertainty, this strength that females and their allies who are in all genders mobilized, that's just very admirable, and I hope we will not lose our spark.
Yeah, let's hope, and let's hope this post-pandemic world will bring more positive stuff than we are currently experiencing it. So the word of the day for this episode is women's right, or in Serbian Ženska prava, or in Albanian, I hope I will pronounce it good, te drejtat.
Bravo.
Thank you all for listening, and subscribe on our channel, and see you next episode. Thank you, Jovana, for being our guest.
Thank Thank you for joining us for the episode of Dialogue Corner. If you liked it, make sure to visit our social media platforms at Dialogue Academy, as well as to subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, make sure to tell your friends about it and share it with your colleagues, and help us in our mission to share the values of dialogue and gender equality. You can also join the conversation by leaving a comment, since we are looking forward to hearing your opinion about this topic. Become a part of the dialogue.